Frank was a Jewish young girl who was born June 12, 1929 in Frankfurt, Germany. She and her family fled from Nazi persecution of Jews, so they had to move to Amsterdam and later went into a hiding for 2 years. During this time, Anna Frank wrote a diary about her experience, thoughts, feelings about what was going on. Unfortunately, in 1945, the family was found and sent to concentration camps, where Anna Frank died at the age of 50. He was the only one who could survive to the World War II when he found Anne Frank's diary, and he realized that his diary dreams was to publish a book. And since she was too good at writing, he decided to make Anne's dreams come true. The life of Anna Frank influenced her to write the diaries because writing for her was an opportunity for her to express openly her feelings and thoughts. And the people who read the book could personally feel and understand how it was the situation during this time. I sincerely believe that this work is very interesting. It gives us a lot of knowledge about everything that Anna Frank was suffering in that cruel time. It leaves a message about life. I have always liked everything about wars, and this is one of my favorites. I think the best part of the play was when Anna Frank and her family tried to flee from the Nazis. Their migration plans failed, and Anna Frank realizes that they have to hide to survive from the Nazis. Special Leman said that the representation of the play had to be as faithful as the original story, as it will be successfully represent the horrors of the Second World War. This is a kind of historical and tragedy play. Historical because they are based on a historical narrative. They are a representation of a historical event or a personality of tragedy. Because the play of tragedy is based on a human suffering and emotional painful events. And it's all that is represented in the play. The requirements for the set, the makeup, and all of those things must be from the time of the war. All the characters have to be well characterized of the person they are representing.
In the conflict of the story, we can see that it's an external conflict because Annie wants to have a normal life, but external forces stand in the way of Annie's motivations. And the other kind of conflict is character versus society because it's an external conflict, as I said before, when Annie is placed in opposition with the government, and in this situation, Annie may be motivated by writing on her diary because she can express herself. The main idea of the play is to explain how the situation was through Annie's eyes. The meaning of the title is to give the audience the main theme of the play. In this case, is the diary of Anna Frank. And what it's telling us is short life of a young girl who lived during the Second World War. For the purpose to feel empathy for the people who suffered during this. The personal and social changes that the character faced from what I detected was that at first Annie with her father is very good and they have a good relationship since she admired him, although with the passage of the time that admiration decreased. However, the relationship with his mother was bad.
So, describing the main character, who is Anna Frank, she had a dad, she had a mother, and she had an older sister. She moved into Mr. Crawler house, and with them were the Van Dan's family, who had a son, Peter Van Dan, and Miep, who was a very light generous secretary in Mr. Frank's office. She helps Mr. Crawler to bring food, supplies, and news from the outside world to the refugees, in this case, Mr. Van Dan's family and Frank's family. So the sex of Anne Frank is obvious. She's a female. She was in her early 20s. Her health, she had a good health. Um, Her clothing was normal for the time, and in this time we can say she was very formal. The appearance, she looked like a Jew, and she was Caucasic. Socially, her family was a middle class family. The occupation of his dad she was a businessman, and she went to school. What are some sort of her hobbies, activities? She loved to read and to write her book. She loved to write a diary, and she was very happy with it.
To what extent do the elements of a play altogether contribute to have a total impact to the audience? So, all elements count. Therefore, what makes a good play is that all the elements, all the characters, all the specifications are put together nicely, so the play doesn't have any failures, and it could be done correctly and have a good
psychological description of Anne Frank. First, I'm gonna talk about the moral stance. The moral stance of Anne were to have courage, to be herself, and to never give up on her dreams or never give up on herself. Then we're going to talk about her philosophy. Her philosophy was she was independent and she didn't need anyone. And now we're gonna talk about ambitions. She wanted to be a professional writer or a journalist. The disappointments in her life were basically the war, that she couldn't have all her dreams come true because of the war. Some abilities she had was the courage, the patience, the hope, and all the complexes were the lack of food, the climate, as she was in a really bad weather place. It was really cold in Amsterdam, in the house she was kept, and she also had diseases. She and her mother contracted typhus. And the qualities is she was really patient and had a really high hopes. She was really determined, and she was also really good writer, as we can see. The peculiarities of Anne were that she was a curious girl, introspective. She always was thinking like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this for? She was also really creative. Her biggest desire was to publish a book, the book that actually got published. So she doesn't know, but she completed her desire and she became a writer even though she never knew. And her will was that she always had courage and she had effort and she wanted to make things happen no matter what. So art is a light that makes us nearer to the truth. That's what Picasso said. And I think the author says that because at least the truth that is given us to understand. The artist must know the manner whereby to convince others of the truthfulness of his lies. If he only shows his work that he has searched and researched for the way to put over lies, he will never accomplish anything.